Hello, this is J1 and welcome to the 4th class of HSC. Today, we're learning about the RGB LED. Last class, we talked about and made an LED button project. In the project, we used a button to turn an LED on and off. In this project, we will be programming a single RGB LED to change colors at a specific rate. But to do that first, we'll have to have a basic grasp on color theory as well as the RGB LED itself. Let's take a look. As previously mentioned, these number signs indicate the amount of each primary color. Now onto the RGB LED. We can think of the RGB LED as 3 LEDs crammed into a single physical component. That is, there are 4 pins, 3 of which are color inputs of red, green, and blue. We can tell which respective RGB pins are located by the length of the surrounding pins. I would also like to note that there are 2 types of RGB LEDs, one with a cathode and one with an anode. In this project, we will be using the RGB LED with a cathode. This is what our project will look like as a schematic. As you could see, we will need one Arduino Uno, one RGB diffused common cathode, 3 220 ohm resistors, 4 wires, and 1 breadboard. Now I'm going to go over the code for this project. Here we have our pin numbers initialized. Red light pin equals 11. I'll copy this and change red light pin into green light pin. Green light pin equals 10. I'll paste again and change red to blue. Blue light pin is 9. So what we're going to do next is to actually set our pins as outputs. So I'm going to start typing void setup. Inside the function, we're going to put pin mode, red light pin, output. Green light pin, output for the next pin mode. And then the blue light pin, an output for the last pin mode. You might be asking why we're not directly giving numbers as inputs. And the reason for that is that it increases the readability of our code. And the pin values are going to be used later on. So if we make minor changes to our variables, we won't have to reassign everything. After this, we will actually set up a new function, and we will call it RGB color. And in this function, there are 3 parameters that we're going to use. Red light value, green light value, and blue light value. Okay, these parameters are essentially values we feed into the function when we call it to make it do something. In this case, our function RGB color will be responsible for making sure the RGB LED lights up, and to do this, we will have to call a different pre-assigned function, analog write. Okay, so the first parameter in analog write is which pin it writes, and the second parameter is exactly how much of the RGB value the pin accepts. We're going to have to call this 3 times, 1 for each RGB pin. I'll change that to green, and I'll change it to blue. Here you'll see that our parameters are used as arguments when we call this function, and we also see the pin number variables shown up. After we finish this, all we have to do is to make our RGB LED blink in the first place. So I'm going to type in void loop. In our void loop, we will call this function multiple times with different arguments. So I will type in RGB color 255 0 0, which will turn out to be red, for instance. It doesn't particularly matter which values we pass. Once you've called the function as many times as you like, make sure to implement a delay in between the times that you call for your function. And then you're all done. Here I've got all these sorts of colors that we're going to be programming in our Arduino. And I hope it works when you try to run this program. Alright, here's a question to wrap up our lesson. If we were to use an RGB LED anode as opposed to a cathode, which changes would we have to make the program and the Arduino wiring? I will ask you this next class, so be prepared to come with your answers. That is the end of week 4's lesson. So goodbye.